If you were to buy a house and it would cost you double the amount you're spending on rent each month, would you do it? That's a question that a lot of people are grappling with. The answer isn't as simple as keep renting or just buy. It depends on a bunch of factors that people don't think about. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the actual math, the real trade-offs, and help you decide what's best for you. Hey everyone, my name is Epstein, and I'm a lifelong San Franciscan and realtor here in the Bay Area. Please reach out to me with all things real estate. I'd be more than happy to be a resource for you, and you can find my contact information below. For context, I help a ton of first-time homebuyers, many of which are renting right now and are thinking about buying in the next 6 months or 2 years. One of the most common questions I get is whether now is a good time to buy a place or just continue renting. In this video, my goal is to help you determine what's best for you in your situation. We're gonna go over the actual cost of renting versus buying, the factors that matter way more than timing, the market, or interest rates, how to think about your timeline and finances, and a clear decision framework you can use for your specific situation. My promise to you is that in this video, I am not going to convince you to buy. My goal is to give you the information you need in order to make the best decision for you and your family. If this kind of content is helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you could subscribe. I make videos like this every single week. And with that, let's get into the video. Number 1, the real costs, buying versus renting in San Francisco. As of March 2026, when I'm recording this video, the average cost to rent an apartment in San Francisco for a 1-bedroom is between $3,600 and $3,800 a month. That's the median. Some neighborhoods are higher, some neighborhoods are lower, and depending on property type and your situation, you might be able to get a better deal or spend much more in the luxury market. With that being said, let's use $3,500 a month as our baseline. That's an easy round number. If you're paying $3,500 a month, that's $42,000 in a year you're spending on rent. Over a 5-year timeline, that's $210,000 a month in rental payments. It's a simple transaction. You pay that money to your landlord, and in return, the landlord gives you housing. Now, you might have heard the phrase that renting is throwing away your money. I understand the logic behind what this means and why people say it, but I don't think that's always the case. Renting ultimately buys you flexibility. You're paying for zero maintenance costs, and you're paying for the ability to move after your lease. Those things have real value. With that being said, you're not growing your equity, and you don't have a built-in housing cost. When the market goes up, you're not benefiting from that. If anything, you're probably spending more money on rent. Okay, so now let's discuss buying. And for this, we should use a comparable property. So let's talk about buying a 1-bedroom condo. The median price for this in San Francisco is right around $900,000. So let's use that for easy math. If you put 20% down, that's a $180,000 down payment and $720,000 you'll need in the form of a mortgage. With mortgage rates around 6%, here's what your monthly breakdown would look like. Principal and interest is going to be approximately $4,300 a month. Property taxes is going to be right around $900 per month. Homeowners insurance is going to be about $200 a month. And HOA fees vary a lot, but let's use $500 a month on average. Combined together, your total monthly payment would be right around $5,900 per month. So compared to renting at $3,500 a month, you're paying about $2,400 a month extra to own a place. So here's the difference. While your monthly payments go up, you are owning an asset. Now we do need to get into the amount of equity you actually build. Out of the $900 a month you're paying in property taxes, none of that is going towards your equity. You are, however, getting a tax deduction, so it does count for something. The $200 you're spending per month on your insurance does not go to equity. The $500 a month you're paying on your HOA fees does not go to equity. The $600 to $700 a month in year 1 you're paying on your loan principal does build equity. The $3,000 to $4,000 left over in this equation goes towards paying your interest. You get a tax deduction here, but you're not building equity. In year 1, you might be building around $7,000 to $8,000 in equity. It's not that much, and it's all through principal pay down. With that being said, over time, there's 2 additional things that happen. First, more of your payment shifts from interest to principal. That's how amortization works. By year 5 or 10, you might be paying $1,000 or $1,500 a month rather than the $600. Second, and this is a big one, is appreciation. If your condo appreciates in value, you benefit from that not only on your $180,000 down payment, but on your entire $900,000 purchase price. Let's say your condo appreciates 3% in the first year. That's $27,000 in equity gain. On your $180,000 down payment, that's a 15% return. This is the power of leverage. Now let's compare this to an average San Francisco home. For the median home price across all property types, we can use $1.3 million. With 20% down, you're putting $260,000 down and you're financing just over $1 million. $6,200 in principal and interest, $1,300 in property taxes, $300 in homeowners insurance, and if it's a condo or HOA, maybe $500 a month. And if it's a single family house, $0. The total monthly payment here is roughly between $8,000 and $8,500 per month, depending on if it's a condo or single family house. As you can see, the monthly payment here is significantly higher when you buy compared to renting. On the flip side though, you are building equity through principal paydown. You're also benefiting if the market goes up because you're gaining that appreciation on your entire purchase price rather than your down payment. If you're renting and the market goes up, you'll be lucky if you're paying the same amount in rent. Your rent could increase higher while others that own property are benefiting from that appreciation. The real question here isn't whether buying is better than renting. The true question is, does the equity you build plus any appreciation outweigh the higher monthly cost and transaction costs that go with buying and selling? The answer to that depends on a bunch of factors, which we're going to get into now. Number 2, the factors that actually matter. All right, so we went over some of the numbers, but the numbers don't actually make a decision for you. Here are some other factors you have to think about when you're deciding whether it's best to rent or buy. Number 1, the first factor is your timeline. This is perhaps the most important one and is the most overlooked. If you're planning on living here for 2 years, buying probably does not make financial sense. The biggest reason why this is the case is because of the transaction costs alone. When you sell, closing costs can easily accumulate to 8 to 10% of the total home's value. We're talking realtor commissions, closing costs, moving costs, and repair costs. On a typical $1.3 million home, that's over $100,000 in transaction costs. Just to break even, you would need the home to appreciate a little bit. And if it stays flat or goes down at all, you'll lose a lot of money. Now, if you're planning on staying for 5 or 7 years plus, the math works in your favor. In this scenario, you're giving yourself more time for appreciation to kick in and more time for your principal pay down to build your equity. Concurrently, while you're doing this, you're actually spreading your transaction costs over multiple years. To put it simply, the longer timeline you have, the more likely you are to make more money. The real question you should be asking yourself for this is how long you're planning on staying in San Francisco for. The second factor is your financial stability. Can you afford the monthly payment comfortably without stress? If you're stressed every single month trying to make your monthly payment, that's not going to be a comfortable situation for you. Realistically, other things are bound to come up, and when they do, you'll be in a load of trouble. Over time, you'll have maintenance costs, repair costs, potentially special assessments if you're in a condo, and property taxes increase over time. As a general rule of thumb, your housing payment should be no more than 30 to 35% of your gross monthly income. If you're not there yet, that's completely fine. It might mean that renting is a smarter move while you increase your income and your savings. The third factor is your down payment. If you have 20% to put down, that's great. And if you don't, that's okay. You'll just need to budget for a couple $100s more a month for PMI or private mortgage insurance. My question is more important than your down payment. Do you have the ability to have an emergency fund after you fund your down payment? You don't want to drain every single dollar you have to get into a home. Because things inevitably come up, like I referenced before, you're going to need to have reserves. If you have your down payment set but don't have any extra cash sitting over, it's okay, you're almost there, just keep building. The fourth factor here is opportunity cost. This is one people don't talk about enough, and it's really important. You need to keep your financial picture in mind whether you're going to rent or buy. If you rent versus purchase and use the difference in what you'd be paying for something like investing in the stock market, that could be great for you. For example, let's say you rented something at $3,700 a month, and to buy a similar property, the monthly cost would be $8,500 a month. That's roughly a $4,800 difference per month. Now, if you were going to invest $4,800 a month with an average annually rate of return of 8% per year, over a 5-year timeline, you would have about $350,000. Now that sounds great, but you have to ask yourself whether or not you would actually do this. A lot of people say that they would do this, but aren't disciplined enough and end up spending that money elsewhere. On the flip side, while you own, you're gonna have principal pay down and equity. Would you build more than $350,000 in equity with this? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends on the market and what you purchase. When you're renting and you have that difference, you actually have a choice of what to do with that money. Whereas if you're paying the higher premium for buying, you don't have a choice. And the rate of return might be higher or lower if you're purchasing, but regardless, it's forced because you don't have a choice. I look at buying properties as having a piggy bank. They're assets that should grow in value over time. And when they do, you have multiple choices on what you can do with that equity. Quick question, are you currently renting or buying? What's the biggest factor for you that's weighing into this decision? Is it the timeline, down payment, or monthly costs? Let me know down in the comments below. Number 3, the hidden costs many people forget. When you rent, the landlord pays for maintenance and repairs. But when you own, you can't look to anyone else. A general rule that many people use is to budget 1 to 2% of the home's value for yearly maintenance and repairs. On a $1.3 million home, that's $13,000 to $26,000 per year. Now, the truth is that not every year is going to cost that much. Some years you'll spend nothing, but other years you'll have to spend $15,000 on HVAC. Other years, you might get hit with a $30,000 full roof replacement or a $20,000 sewer line repair. The second one are transaction costs when you buy. When you purchase, you have to pay closing costs. This includes loan origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, escrow fees, and transfer taxes. Closing costs in San Francisco typically run 2 to 5% of your purchase price. On a $1.3 million home, that's between $26,000 and $65,000 just to get the deal done. The third hidden costs are transaction fees when you sell. In San Francisco, when you sell, you're going to need to pay realtor commissions, which is typically between 5 and 6% of the sales price. On a $1.3 million home, that's between $65,000 and $78,000. So between buying and selling, you're looking between $90,000 and $140,000 in transaction costs. The home is going to need to appreciate just to cover those costs before you make any sort of profit. Hidden cost number 4, taxes and deductions. You also need to consider the tax benefits of owning real estate. You can deduct your mortgage interest, but there is a cap. You can only deduct interest on your first $750,000 on your mortgage. You can also deduct property taxes, but they're capped at $10,000 per year. Those do help, but in San Francisco, many times your mortgage interest and property taxes will go well beyond that cap, so you're not taking advantage of that entire thing. This could help, but because of our huge purchasing prices, many times you can't take full advantage of the mortgage interest or property taxes because of the cap. Number 4, your framework for making the right decision. Here's the framework I walk clients through. Step 1 is to answer the timeline question. Are you planning on San Francisco for at least 5 years? If the answer is no, you might want to consider renting unless you're in a great financial position and that's not a concern. If the answer is yes, here's step number 2. Check your finances. Ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, do you have a fully funded down payment and a substantial emergency fund? 2, can you afford the monthly payment comfortably? 3, are you financially stable? If the answer to all of these questions is yes, then keep going. If the answer is no, it might make sense to rent. This could be a great time to work towards hitting those benchmarks. Step 3, run the numbers for your specific situation. What would your rent be over the next 5 years if you continue renting? What would your mortgage payment be if you were to purchase? What's the difference between those 2 numbers every single month? If you rented and invested that difference, what would that look like in the next 5 years? What would be your actual transaction costs? Factor in your down payment, monthly total costs, tax situation, and your maintenance budget. Run the actual numbers. There are a ton of rent versus buy calculators online, and the New York Times actually has a really good one. Plug in your real numbers and see what it tells you. Step 4, ask yourself the non-financial questions. Do you actually want to own a property? Do you value the stability of home ownership? Would you like the ability to customize your space to make it your own? Or do you value the flexibility of renting? With it comes the ability to move, the lack of maintenance responsibilities, and the freedom to not actually be tied down. There's no wrong answer here, but the answer does matter. Even if the financial math says that you can't actually buy, but you don't want to own, you might regret it. If you run through this framework and the answer is that you're not ready yet, that's not a failure. That's clarity, and the clarity is insanely valuable. Number 1. What to do if you're not ready yet. If you're watching this video and you come to the conclusion that you're not ready yet, I want you to hear me say that that is not a failure. That's a really smart conclusion to reach. If that's the case, here's what I would do. First, keep renting and building your savings. Focus on reaching your down payment goal and making sure that you have a fully funded emergency fund. Second, work on your income and your credit. This could be a great time to start focusing on increasing your earning potential. Third, stay educated. Keep learning about the San Francisco real estate market. Watch videos like this, follow the data, and understand what's happening. Okay, so let's tie this all together. Renting a property in San Francisco is going to cost considerably less than buying a similar property from a monthly cost perspective. The difference is that when you buy, you're building equity through principal pay down, and you're gaining appreciation. You're locking in your housing costs and you're gaining the stability and freedom to do whatever you want with it. On the other side, when you're renting, you're gaining flexibility. You don't have to worry about the maintenance costs and you're not at risk when the market goes down. You're also preserving your capital to use elsewhere. No decision is wrong, they're just different strategies. Generally, if you have a long time horizon, your finances are solid, and you want a home, buying could be a great choice. If your timeline is shorter, your finances aren't quite there yet, or you value flexibility, then renting could be a great choice. If you're thinking about buying in San Francisco and want to go over your specific situation, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to walk through the math with you and help you determine what's best for you. Like this video if it was helpful, and if you want more real estate videos like this, it would mean the world to me if you would please subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.